Hello, hello, little screamers, and welcome back to Scream in Style. This time we are going to New York for the monsters, the cryptids, things that go bump in the night, and everything in between. Here we go. Starting off with the shy guy known as the blob monster of Kinderhook. It roams the woods and isn't seen very often, as it has been seen by 6 people, give or take. It likes to keep to itself, and I think it likes it that way. After looking this blob up, I see it like Casper in a way. It doesn't really hurt anybody. The thing seems like it just wants to roam and whistle a bit. It's like an old man who you think is mean, but really he's a good guy who doesn't want to be disturbed. You know?
Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? Fucking halfwit!
The first report is from 1962, from a 10-year-old boy and his 7-year-old cousin, Cherie. The 10-year-old boy goes on to say, "When I was 10 years old, I was up in the woods behind our house with my cousin Cherie, who was then age 7. We both heard this really high-pitched whistle noise." End quote. Naturally, they looked for the source of the sound, and Hellenbeck described, quote, "a white object peering at me from behind a nearby pine tree," end quote. Afterwards, the 2 children hastily ran back to Hellenbeck's parents' home. And in the most recent encounter was in 2017, when Kinderhook residents Owen Farley and Anthony Malinowski spotted the blob on a walk. The 2 men said there was a noticeable drop in temperature directly before the sighting, followed by a high-pitched screech. They described a white blob around 7 feet tall come out of the woods and floated towards them. And so then, understandably, both of the men ran away. Second, like Loch Ness, we have our own version of Nessie here in the States, and it is called Champ, with over 300 sightings, aka Champ, Champy, or the Lake Champlain monster. Pronouncing is not my strong suit. Anyway, Champ resides in a natural freshwater lake in North America and is partially situated across the U.S.-Canada border in the Canadian province of Quebec and across the Vermont-New York border. He's 15 to 50 feet, upright neck 4 to 5 feet long, most commonly seen with 2 to 3 humps with variations from 1 to 10. Champ is known to have dark brown or black rough skin, a snake or horse-like head, sometimes with horns or ears and a mane, bearing visible teeth, rising out of the water up to 8 feet. The first sighting of Champ was in 1609, while Samuel de Champlain and his men were crossing the river. And then, years and years later on, a video was taken by fisherman Dick and his stepson Pete in the summer of 2005.
And now, new exclusive video, obtained by ABC News, of something just under the surface, has brought Champ back into the news, which brings us to the latest sighting by a couple of respected upstate New York fishermen who, on a summer afternoon last year, captured something on their digital camera.
As big around as my thigh, I'd say.
It made my hair stand on end at the time. It just didn't fit anything, any kind of creature that I'd ever seen.
What we saw always stayed right on the surface, and parts of it would come above the water. The back, or the nose, or the head. What in hell is that thing?
But Champ is camera shy, and the fishermen say this is the best picture they could get.
I'm 100% sure of what we saw. I'm not 100% sure of what it was.
The tape is authentic. 2 retired FBI analysts reviewed it for ABC News.
I can't find anything in there that would suggest or indicate to me that this has been fabricated or manipulated in any way. However, there's no place in there that I can actually see an animal or any other type of object on the surface.
Just an odd wake that for now merely adds to the further mystery of Champ, a legend that swims just below the surface and just out of camera range.
Now, some think Champ could possibly be a relative of an extinct reptile with a long neck, or a type of primitive whale that was meant to have become extinct some 20 million years ago. To be honest, I hope none of these hold truth and these sightings are just logs, because that's terrifying. And I'd like to swim in peace with my life unsnatched between prehistoric jaws. So now fast forward to today, in the village of Port Henry, New York, has erected a giant model of Champ and Hole's Champ Day on the first Saturday of every August. I mean, come on, that's cute and fun. Thirdly, we go to one of my favorite creatures in folklore, hellhounds. There is a small centuries-old graveyard in the town of Wales, Guttleberg Cemetery, and it's said to be among the most haunted graveyards in the country. According to legend, the hauntings come about because cemetery namesake Dr. Guttleberg practiced illegal abortions and buried both the aborted babies and the unlucky women who didn't survive behind his home, which overlooked the cemetery. It is said to be haunted by one of these patients, called the White Lady. Babies' cries and orbs also have been reported, along with other spooky things. It was active from 1811 to 1927, the final resting place for many of the original settlers of the town. So, where do the hellhounds come in? Every place needs guard dogs, so that's exactly what they do. People have reported horse-sized hounds with glowing eyes and sheeny vinyl-like coats. Sometimes they say the glowing eyes are a color like a green or a red. Normally, you find hellhounds in British folklore, not in America. British folklore claims that when dogs that are black in color are seen, it could mean death, or the animal could be acting as a type of servant to the devil himself. There have been many investigations taking place here at Guttleberg Cemetery, and though there have been findings, unfortunately, people have trashed and vandalized the cemetery. The locals have done their best to stop this from happening, and I personally hope it stops as well, or has, because there's no need to act in such a rude and disrespectful way. So if you do visit, please don't be an asshole, and if you do, I hope the hounds teach you a valuable lesson. On to the fourth. We got a hi-hat, and I'm not talking about the one on your drum set. This guy lurks about in the marshy expanses of the Allegheny Seneca Reservation. He's described as a giant cannibalistic creature with a mouthful of sharp teeth and is notorious for preying on children. The name Hi-Hat comes from his supposed attire. He wears a stovepipe hat reminiscent of President Abraham Lincoln. Back in 1960 to 65, the creation of the Kenzua Reservoir brought a lot of non-natives to reservation territory, and more than one white dam worker spotted a big strange form along the northern shore, typically just before daybreak. This led to a normal question among the workers. Has anyone seen Old Abe today? Just in casual passing. Now for the fifth, we got Hobgoblin, another one of my faves. The first report of it may have come from a besotted piper around 1804 and appeared with a couple of Fort Niagara ghost stories and Samuel de Vauxhall. Yeah, moving on. 1839 book on Niagara Falls and the region. The story goes that after paying tribute too freely to Bacchus, the wine god, the fort's music man John Carroll got lippy with the commandant, possibly the formidable Major Moses Porter. He was thrown into the hole to dry out and wise up. He wailed so piteously that the guards brought him a light, paper, and pen so he could write the song the Hobgoblin inspired in him. The song itself, Carroll's Thoughts on Eternity, was rediscovered within the last few years and played at a recent fort celebration. Another hopping, dark critter often referred to as a hobgoblin is spotted in the fort's graveyard, so maybe the bogey of the hole has a sidekick. These guys have been given variations to their lore. On one hand, they are friendly house spirits, but then supposedly Christianity came along and, well, deviled them up to be harmful and mischievous. So it's dealer's choice on how you view them, but I like to see them in their original creation. If I read right and view them as helpful spirits that can make my household chores easier. Sixth up to bat is the Leaping Loppy of Leicester, which sounds like an off-brand wacky Tigger. I'd hang out. Seems fun. So trying to find anything about this Leaping Loopy was difficult because, frankly, there's not much to know. He seems to be one of the more obscure or simply even more elusive than the Kinderhook grumpy old man blob. What I did find was that in October 1870, Lancaster experienced a wave of sightings of an unusual bipedal creature described as a mix of animal parts and behaviors. Behaviors were not mentioned, oddly, so do with that in your imagination what you will. It was reported to hop like a kangaroo and fight like a bear. Which, what person who out here is on a roid rage high enough to go fight a creature like this? Who dared the local drunkard to test his mettle like that? I'm thinking maybe somebody got an illegal joey and got out, but who knows. 7th on the list is a good'un. It was a fun time researching this dude and learning about his origins. It's Ludwig the Bloodsucker. Just by that name, you know it's going to get good. So, this bundle of teeth roamed the streets of New York City during the mid to late 19th century, mainly the Bowery area of New York City, which was a neighborhood known for its saloons, theaters, and other entertainment venues. People said this is where Ludwig would prey on an intoxicated individual who was stumbling home from these establishments late at night. He's described as having vampire-like qualities and is a squat, swarthy German with an enormous head crowned with a shock of bristly black hair. Despite his given name, he would not kill or turn his victims into vampires. Instead, he would taunt and tease them until finally taking a pint of blood from them to get a gnarly buzz, and then after, he'd let his victims live. Regardless of his mischievous behavior, many people found him to be a fascinating and entertaining character, as well as some believing him to be that of a real person. According to some accounts, there was an actual German named Ludwig who lived in the Lower East Side of New York City during the 1800s and had a taste for human blood. While the veracity of these claims is difficult to verify, naturally, the legend of Ludwig the Bloodsucker lives on as a fascinating part of American folklore. He has been the subject of numerous books, articles, and podcasts. The Bowery, A History of Grit, Graft, and Grandeur by Eric Ferreira, which details the history of the Bowery neighborhood in New York City. The Vampire of the Bowery by artist Michael Diaz. Documentary is The Bowery, The Strange History of New York's Oldest Street. While Ludwig the Bloodsucker is primarily associated with New York City, there are variations of this mythical creature across different cultures. In some stories, he is known as a vampire, a creature that feeds on the blood of living beings, of course. In others, he is known as a ghoul, a creature that feeds on the flesh of the dead. In some cultures, Ludwig is portrayed as a malevolent spirit that haunts graveyards and preys on the living. In others, he is seen as a protector of the dead, ensuring that their spirits are not disturbed by the living. So hearing that, which version of Ludwig the Bloodsucker would you prefer? 8th on the list is the Manitou Road Demon. This cryptid is another I couldn't find much information on, but what I did find was this. It dwells near Rochester, New York. It's fast, fanged, and flies and loves to harass cars and beat on bedroom windows. In the 40s, Monroe County historian Shirley Cox encountered this locally famous beastie in her youth while sleeping in her brother's Manitou Road farmhouse. That's it. Literally, I couldn't find more details. This one appears to be more of a nuisance that likes to give people fright rather than an unfortunate case of death, which I'm not complaining. I'll take a wannabe Universal Horror Nights actor any day of the week. A little fun fact for you on this is that the word Manitou is a word for the force of life. Algonquin Speaking Society, so sorry for butchering that did in fact settle there at one time. It was the energy behind all magic. It could be used to hurt or heal. The road's name itself suggests a place imbued with a powerful, free-ranging energy, perhaps explaining the demon's persistent presence. Coming up on our last two on the list is Old Granny from Cayuga Lake, described as a 50-foot-long, serpent-like beast with scaly greenish skin. The legend of Old Granny dates back to the 1800s, with reports as early as 1897 from the Ithaca Journal describing annual sightings of the serpent for nearly 70 years. In 1929, witnesses claimed to see two creatures swimming near the lake's eastern shore. One theory of Old Greenie is that it is nothing more than the misidentification of lake sturgeon. It is a type of prehistoric-looking fish that is not common in Cayuga Lake. However, these fish have been reportedly caught in the lake before. Another theory suggests that a rare species of giant freshwater eels live there, and that could be the answer. Lastly, we have the white Bigfoot of Belmont in central Allegheny County, first reported in the 1970s. Everyone's gotta have a Bigfoot, but this one is different. Kinda. The sighting in '99 reads, 2 women in high school at the time were out on a snowy night in 1999 when they spotted something big, beige, and rangy keeping pace with cars in the vicinity of West Almond on Route 244. Again, that's it. No more details to give other than what makes this one different. It's white.
That's all.
And that, my little screamers, wraps up New York and its cryptids I could find for you. Be sure to comment below of what you thought of these cryptids, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.